In today's episode, a man gets buried alive in an avalanche. Hello and welcome back to Encounters from Beyond the Veil. Today's story comes from CBN. It's the true story of two boys that went snowboarding on a beautiful day in the mountains. Unfortunately, a disaster was about to hit. It would take the voice of God to save them. Today's episode, Avalanche.
All of a sudden, everything starts to let go. The ledge and everything. By this time, I lost my sight of Matt, and the cloud of snow was so big I couldn't see my hand in front of my face, thinking he's dead and there's no way I'm ever going to find him.
Michael Walsh and his younger brother Matt thought they had found the perfect spot for backcountry snowboarding in Wyoming. The mountain bowl had an overhanging snowdrift and deep powder. They parked Michael's truck and climbed to the steepest point, never thinking about avalanche danger.
It's kind of just a cliff, basically, a snow cliff that builds up with all the wind. And as it blows, it just kind of curls and curls and curls and just builds up a big ledge. Well, we were sitting right on the edge of it. The original plan was we were both going to go down at the same time. I don't know why I changed the plan. He was already strapped in, and I had one binding strapped in at this time. And I looked over at him, and I was like, "Hey, Matt, what are you waiting for?"
His brother Matt jumped off the ledge and hit the slope below, triggering a massive avalanche.
All I hear, pop, 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 the whole bowl lets go. And it sounds like a freight train running right over me.
Matt slid hundreds of feet down the mountain, caught in the avalanche. The wall of snow behind him hit hard, burying him under 3 feet of heavy packed snow. Michael looked on helplessly.
As soon as the snow clears, he's no sign of him, nothing. There's just rocks and sagebrush and dirt ripped up out of the ground on top of the snow. To see him disappear like that, and I couldn't stop it, that was very hard.
Michael had a decision to make. Run to his truck to call search and rescue, or try and find his brother on his own.
If I went and looked first, there was no way I was getting back up that hill by myself to call search and rescue again. And so I just cried out to God, said, "God, what do I do?" And I heard him just as loud as you're talking to me, "Go find your brother." I'd never heard God speak to me like that before, and it rocked me.
He ran down the hill, frantically calling his brother's name.
As soon as I get onto the slide area where it all settled, it's just destruction and no sign of him. I'm looking for a hat, a tip of his board, a hand, something sticking out of the snow. Nothing. And then I started to second guess myself. Was that really God telling me to go find my brother? I realized there's no way I was going to find him. And there's nothing, no sign of him. And then I finally came to a point, and I just kind of gave up. I know it sounds terrible to give up, but there's nothing to see. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see any sign of him.
Matt lay buried deep in the heavy snow, unable to move, running out of air and hope.
Right when I realized that I was buried, and there was no way I was moving my body, I was certain I was going to die. At that point, I had given up on trying to get out. I knew I was going to die.
But as he lay there praying, he says he felt God's presence with him.
The peace I felt in that moment was amazing. I would say it was him with me in the moment. So I was ready. I knew where I was going. I wasn't scared.
He heard God speak to him and remind him of a prophecy given to Matt's mother when she nearly miscarried him as a baby, that the baby would not die but live, and God would do great things through his life.
When he spoke to me, I had hope. It was like, okay, this isn't it. He's going to rescue me from this. He's going to save me. It's not going to stop here. He's still got a plan for my life and a purpose for my life.
Matt says hope propelled him to action. He had an air pocket near his face, and he was able to dig one arm towards the surface. Meanwhile, Michael stood directly above him, unaware of his location.
Pretty much about to fall to my knees and just lose all hope in it. So I just yelled one more time, "Matt!" The wind's blowing 60 miles an hour. So when you're wearing a hood and a hat, you can't hear very well. Everything goes dead silent. And I just hear, "Mike, I'm fine." There's no way I should have heard him in that, with how hard the wind was blowing. Well, I turn and I take a step back. I look under my left foot right before I sat down. I see a hole about the size of a baseball in the snow. And I just start digging frantically. Well, I dug about 2 feet, and I'm like, I was crazy, you know. That wasn't really him. And I just kept digging. I dug another foot, and I could see the Oakley symbol on his jacket that I had just bought him like a week before that. And I dug to his face, and I could see his face that he was still alive and okay. I started crying like a baby. I was so happy, but so scared all at the same time.
He spent the next half hour digging Matt out of what could have been a snowy grave. They say it was only by God's grace that they made it out alive.
He led me right to the spot where Matt was. I mean, I didn't know where he was. I had no idea which direction he was, which the way it swept him, you know. And to lead me dead center on top of him, that's not coincidence. Everything was just fell into place, just perfect. God met me there and was standing there and held my hand all the way down that and kept me safe and him safe.
I think I survived because God has a bigger plan for my life. You know, He has big things in store for me, and I don't think that He was going to let that be foiled by an avalanche. I think that He wasn't. It wasn't His will. I'm definitely very thankful, you know, that God would rescue me from this, that He would work it out in a way that we both come out okay.
Definitely the scariest thing I've ever had happen to me in my life. I mean, watching my best friend and thinking he's dead and there's no way I'm ever going to find him. And then, you know, having the Lord just meet me there on that hill and be there with me the whole time. He was there, and He hears your prayers and in your time of need.
What an amazing story of survival. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Brad Polk for Encounters Beyond the Veil.